Hey everyone, welcome to Lesson 3 of Unit 1, America the Beautiful. Topic 1, the mini maps of the U.S. So far within this unit, we have looked at different types of maps to look at the things that they have similar and different. We've also examined map features, like parts of a map that help us read and analyze a map. And we've also labeled our oceans and continents and our poles to better understand where places are located, and we will have a quiz on continents and oceans later on. I have posted a study guide that you could study online or print at home and study to help memorize those continents and oceans. Now today we are going to continue with our unit goal of gaining a basic understanding of world and United States geography. We're practicing reading and interpreting different types of world and U.S. maps, and we're going to learn how to use these different types of maps so as we get deeper into social studies, we can make connections between the two maps. Again, our essential standards that we are working with within these lessons is locating and labeling the continents, oceans, poles, and so on a map or globe. We're going to determine the approximate longitude and latitude coordinates today of various locations in the United States. And we're also going to use various types of maps using their map features like keys, the map key, legend, compass rose, and cardinal and intermediate directions. Remember, our key questions for this unit is, what information do maps tell us about a given area? How do we read a map, and why do we use maps? So far we know that maps tell us where places are in relation to one another and how far apart they are, like using a map scale. But what if we need to find the exact location of a place? This is where we use lines of latitude and longitude to help us plot exact locations on a map. Latitude lines, I call them flat lines or flatitude lines. They go round and round. They go from east to west. So the ones that go east to west are latitude lines. When you have your latitude lines, your very middle line in the middle is called the equator. This is 0 degrees latitude, and it divides the earth into two hemispheres. Everything above the equator is the northern hemisphere, and everything below the equator is the southern hemisphere. So let's practice. We're going to go to our student work page, and we're going to try to draw in the lines of latitude. We're going to label the northern and southern hemispheres and label the line of the 0 degrees latitude of the equator. So let me pull up our student work pages, and as you see, it still has our instructions for today. And now let's draw. This is way too small for me, so I'm going to go to my handy dandy zoom. I'm going to zoom in, and it says draw in the latitude lines in red and label the equator and hemispheres. Okay, so what I'm going to do, remember, flat lines or flatitude lines, they go round and round from east to west. So to draw these lines in, I'm going to insert a line. I'm going to go to line, and then I'm going to take my pointer, click and drag my line. Now I'm going to go to this color here and change it to red. And so now I've drawn in one line of latitude. I think it's kind of skinny. I want to make it a little bit thicker, so I'm going to go to my line thickness and go to 3 just to make sure that we can see it. And you can do this for each line. I'm going to insert line, go up to line. I'm going to click and drag. Are they going to be completely straight? No, not with me drawing the lines in. But if it's close, it's okay. I'm going to change my line red. I'm going to change my thickness to 3 just to make sure that I can see it. I'm going to continue this process for each line of latitude on this globe. So I'm going to insert, go all the way down to line, go up to line. I'm going to click on the edge and hold it down and drag my mouse to the next side of the world let it go. I'm going to go up here and change the color to red and change the thickness to 3. Now, because this is the middle line, do you remember what that middle line is called? It's the equator. So since it's the equator, I'm going to make it thicker than the rest of them. So I'm going to make it 8 points thick, just to make sure that you can see the equator that's different from the rest of the latitude lines. And I'm going to go ahead right here and label this equator. I'm going to put that in the middle so we can see it. So I know that this line is the equator. Okay, I'm going to go back in and finish drawing my lines of latitude. I'm going to insert my line, go from one side, click, hold it down, and drag it to the other side. I'm going to change it to red, and I'm going to change the thickness to only 3 because it's not the equator. Now remember, as I'm doing this, and as you're doing this with me, you can print these pages and do this with a marker. If you're not tech savvy enough, or if the technology stresses you out, print these pages and just do it with markers and take a picture of it and submit it to me that way. Okay, now we have our lines of latitude drawn in and our equator labeled, but we have 2 more things to label. Everything above the equator is the northern hemisphere. Oops, it's not typing. Everything below the equator down here is the southern hemisphere. Okay, so now we have all parts to our latitude lines, or our parallels, that go around and around. They're all labeled. Okay, let's go back to our slideshow to make sure that we did it correctly. And we did. Okay, so now let's practice. It kind of went way too far, so let me go back out of this. So let's practice. Let's go to our pages and practice just the lines of latitude. They're the ones that go from east to west, and they're called flatitude lines. That's my nickname, just so you can remember they are flat. They lay flat across. So let's see 29 north latitude. So it's only the lines this way that we're reading. We're not reading these down here. So 29 north. So we have 30, we have 40. So 29 is closer to 30. So it's going to be right under 30. So I'm going to take my finger or take my mouse and go 29 north and stop. I made it to what looks close to 29 north, which is Houston, Texas. So I'm going to type in Houston, Texas. And if your font is small, you can always make it bigger. Okay. The next one is 49 degrees north latitude. Remember, they're flatitude lines. They're only going east to west. So 46 degrees north latitude. So we have 40, we have 50. In between is around 45 to 46 degrees. So let's see. Portland's kind of near it. Lincoln is below it. Fargo's too far north. We have Niagara Falls that's near it, but looks kind of lower, and Boston. So I'm thinking, just guesstimating, that Portland, Oregon is going to be the closest to 46 degrees north. Now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Alright, I want you to do 33 degree north latitude on your own. Here's 30, here's 40, so 33 is going to be closer to 30. Which one looks like it's kind of below the middle? See, 35 is going to be here. So what location do you think is 33 degrees north latitude? Type that in now. Okay, once you type that in, let's go to our next part of our lesson. We're going to learn about longitude lines. Longitude lines are opposite of latitude lines. They are the long lines, or they're called meridians, that go up and down. They go from north to south. Our longitude lines, or our long lines, they divide the Earth into hemispheres also. But the very middle line that is 0 degrees longitude is the prime meridian. And it divides it into the eastern and western hemispheres. So our Earth has 4 different hemispheres: northern, southern, eastern, and western. Okay, so we are going to practice. We're going to go back to our student work pages. We're going to draw in the lines of longitude. We're going to label our western and eastern hemispheres and label the prime meridian, just like we did for latitude. Okay, so here's our work pages that we've done so far. All right, now let's draw them in. It says, draw in the longitude lines in yellow and label the prime meridian and the hemispheres. So I'm going to go to Insert, Line, and I'm going to do the long lines. It's not going to be perfect because they're not curved. And I'm going to make them yellow and about 3 points thick, just like the other lines. I'm going to keep doing this process just like I did on the other one. And they're not going to be perfect because the world is round and these are straight. Let's do another one. I'm going to scoot this line over a little bit. And if they're not straight, it's fine. And once again, you can print these and you can trace these lines with a yellow marker if that's easier for you to do, and take a picture of it. Okay, our middle line is our prime meridian. So I'm going to make this one thicker. I'm going to go to the width and go to 8 points to make it thicker, and I'm going to label it prime meridian. This is the longitude line that is 0 degrees longitude that divides the world into 2 hemispheres. And this hemisphere is the eastern hemisphere. And over here is the western hemisphere. And if I'm going too fast, just pause this video to give you time to type or catch up. You can continue entering in your lines of longitude to do the other side. I'm just going to do a few for the sake of time. Insert line, go on this side of the prime meridian, and do this one yellow. Do one more. All right. So yours should look something like this with your lines of longitude going north and south, up and down. You should have the prime meridian labeled and your eastern and western hemisphere. So now let's practice with lines of longitude. We're not worried about our east and west lines now because we've already done the latitude lines. So now let's try to find locations along our long lines, our north and south lines. So let's look at 95 degrees west longitude. So we're looking down here at our west lines. And here's 90, here's 100. So in between those two is 95. So let's see what's almost in the middle. Let's see, Houston looks like it hits it perfectly. Lincoln looks like it might be 96, and Fargo looks like it might be 96 or 97. So I'm going to estimate that Houston, Texas is around 95 degrees west longitude. So 96 west longitude, we had just looked at 95, and I said that I think Lincoln is just 1 degree over, and I think Fargo Fargo looks like it's 97. So I'm going to estimate that Lincoln, Nebraska is 96 degrees west longitude. Now I want you to do 112 west longitude by yourself. So let's go here. We have 100, 110, 120. 112 is closer to 110, so we're going to look around in this area. What location is the closest to 112 degrees west longitude? I want you to type that in now. Okay. To end our lesson, I'm going to give you a practice page of doing longitude and latitude together. So now we're not looking at just longitude lines or just latitude lines. We're going to put the two lines together to find an exact location. So let's go to your practice page that's posted on this assignment today. This says Lesson 3, Latitude and Longitude Practice. And let's look at how to complete that. So I'm going to zoom in. Okay, you see that there are dots for specific locations and there's a red box above it. So let me zoom in a little more so I can see a little better. That looks better to me. So it says locate each city using latitude and longitude coordinates and label each city with the number located to each city name. Now again, if you do better with pencil and paper, feel free to print this out and fill it in and then take a picture of it and upload it. But if you want to do it digitally, I'm going to show you how. So the first location that we need to find is called Detroit, Michigan. So if you know where your states are located, it's going to help you because you kind of know where Michigan is. But if you don't, use the longitude and latitude coordinates to help find it. So we are looking for 42 degrees north and 83 degrees west. We are always going to read the latitude lines first. So our north and our south lines are always going to come before our east and west. So we're always going to start with our latitude line. So let's find 42 degrees north, which is around 40, so about right here. And then we're going to go to 83 degrees west. So let me zoom out so I can see both directions. So here's about 42. And then here is 80. So 83 is going to be about right here. So I'm going to use my finger on the 42, and I'm going to use my cursor on 83, and I'm going to go up and across at the same time until my fingers touch. So I'm going to make my finger go over and my cursor go up until I reach a point. And this is where around 43 degrees north and 83 degrees west intersect. So I do have a location there. So I'm going to write number 1 in the text box, if you can see it. Let's see, I might need to make it bigger. Okay, so this is where Detroit, Michigan is. Let's see, I might need to make my box a little bigger so my one can fit in it. There we go. So we found Detroit, Michigan. Now let's do New Orleans, Louisiana together, and then I want you to work with a parent or someone next to you to help you find the rest of the locations and put the numbers in. So New Orleans, Louisiana is around 30 degrees north and 90 degrees west. So here is 30 degrees north. Now let's go down here and see where 90 degrees west is. So that's pretty easy because they're both already labeled. We don't have to estimate. So I'm going to put my finger on 30 degrees north. I'll put my other finger or my cursor on 90 degrees west, and I'm going to make them go across and up at the same time till they intersect. And they both meet right here. So I'm going to label this number 2 in the red box. And this is where New Orleans, Louisiana is located. Let me try to make my number a little bigger so y'all can see it. that is how you complete this practice sheet. If the boxes aren't working for you, like they're not for me, then you can adjust them. If not, I can still see the numbers. It's not a big deal. If you want to print this sheet and fill it out with a pencil, definitely go for it and just take a picture of it and upload that picture of your completed work on Google Classroom. This is it for today's lesson with longitude and latitude practice. I hope you've enjoyed it, and it's kind of like a scavenger hunt. You get an X marks the spot and you have to hunt down for the treasure, and your treasure is the locations on this page. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Other than that, I hope y'all have a wonderful day.